You know darn well that the White House, President Joe Biden, who's navigating us through this wonderful period of Bidenomics, is putting pressure either directly or indirectly on the Fed to ease up on monetary policy. Are we silver and gold investors in for a big surprise in 2024? Maybe sooner as opposed to later, because nothing impacts the price of the precious metals like the Federal Reserve and monetary policy. But have you heard the recent news? There's a growing chorus coming from many directions, putting pressure on the Fed to cut rates sooner as opposed to later. We're going to talk about who is saying that the Fed should be cutting rates, but what's even more interesting and more important is who isn't saying it out loud, but you know this secret factor is pressuring the Fed to also lower rates. And guys, when the Fed officially does lower rates, when the market starts to price in even more aggressive Fed rate cuts, looser monetary policy, that will provide an unbelievable amount of support for the silver price and the gold price. Could we be looking at a situation where silver actually gets to a price where we know it should already be? What do you think it means when one of the most prestigious investment banks in the world is calling for the Fed to cut rates? Goldman Sachs said this, that the Fed should cut interest rates in March because of downside risk in the labor markets. Goldman economist David Merrickle said inflation has already dropped to the Fed's inflation target, giving them flexibility to cut rates. Quote, there are some modest downside risks to inflation and labor market that could still provide additional reasons for the FOMC to cut sooner rather than later. Now, Goldman Sachs is the least aggressive of these, but they're calling out loud in front of everyone for the Fed to cut rates. Next, we hear from an economic think tank, the Economic Policy Institute, who says don't wait on wage growth. The Fed should cut rates at this week's meeting. They've done extensive research and are calling for the Fed to cut rates in January of 2024. Is it hard for you to imagine $30 silver again? We had it not too long ago, and silver has this habit of spiking in price. It will happen again. Remember, we've got a major financial institution, Goldman Sachs, and we have a major economic think tank, both calling on the Fed right now to lower rates. But what about U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren? What about the politicians? Over the weekend, Elizabeth Warren and her fellow politicians, 3 of them, sent a letter directly to Jerome Powell at the Federal Reserve calling on him to lower rates immediately, that this high interest rate environment is causing economic hardship on average everyday Americans. Are you feeling it? Maybe if you're in the market to buy a house, you know just the impact that's being felt by average Americans because of this higher interest rate environment. Americans are carrying record amounts of credit card debt. Is that you? Americans are carrying record amounts of auto debt. All of it is accruing interest at higher and higher rates and making things increasingly more difficult. But now we have senators calling on the Federal Reserve to lower rates and to lower rates right now. Fortuna Silver Mines is a global intermediate gold and silver producer. Since 2005, Fortuna's best-in-class management has delivered impressive growth and profits. Fortuna's solid financial position and operational expertise allows for performance in any precious metals price cycle and provides a foundation from which to harvest great profits in more favorable metals markets. Investing in Fortuna is an investment in quality, long-term sustainable production of in-demand precious and base metals. It's a growing chorus of people that are saying, enough is enough, Fed. You need to give easier monetary policy. Now, look, you may or may not agree with that. I actually don't in one regard, because this period of easy money that the government and the economy went through over the last several decades has created this situation that we're in right now with record debt and a very uncertain economic future in this country. But as silver and gold investors, as we assess what's going on right in front of us, lower rates will be extremely supportive for the silver price and the gold price. And more people are putting pressure on the Fed. Now, what's that secret ingredient that I talked about at the beginning of the video that nobody's talking about because they can't talk about it? But you know darn well that the White House, President Joe Biden, who's navigating us through this wonderful period of Bidenomics, is putting pressure either directly or indirectly on the Fed to ease up on monetary policy. They want, butterflies and unicorns and everything to be okay during an election year because that will help President Joe Biden in his re-election campaign. What do you think when you put it all together? Does it feel like we're moving into an environment which is much more conducive for higher precious metals prices? If you want to get your hands on some silver, gold, or platinum right now, please visit channel sponsor Pimbex. They're an online bullion dealer. To me, they check all the boxes when it comes to great prices, great selection, great service, and a company that I can trust. You need to find that out for yourself, but next time you're out shopping for precious metals, throw Pimbex into the mix. I think you'll find what I found, Pimbex is best. Look, it's going to be an interesting ride through the rest of 2024. Rest assured, I'll be here for you every day through it all, up or down. Please subscribe to the channel. We'll get into the weeds of what's going on out there. We'll take a unique perspective. We'll discern the truth, and we'll do it together. I'll look forward to seeing you soon.